Remember those Sundays when the aroma of roast meat filled the house? The shops were shut and the day marched to its own rhythm, calm and measured. A winter Sunday meant the coziness of the fireplace and all the family members gathered together in the sitting room. In the 60s and 70s, Sundays in Britain were special, not necessarily religious, but distinct from the everyday humdrum. When it was chilly outside and the darkness set in early, the day acquired its own specific pace and structure. But those traditions have practically vanished. The rituals and routines that made Sunday unique, the habits that shaped the working week, now only live on in our memories. Today, we'll recall 12 customs that British people practiced on winter Sundays in the 60s and 70s, which are now all but forgotten. Sunday lunch at 1 p.m. Sunday lunch had a very specific time, precisely 1 p.m. Mom would start cooking the meat in the morning, and by noon, the house would be filled with the scent of food. The family would gather at the table, Dad would carve the meat, plates would be served at the same time, and everyone would tuck into roast potatoes, vegetables, thick gravy, and Yorkshire pudding. Afterwards, the washing up would take ages, but this meal was the highlight of the week. Modern families often eat lunch at random times or skip it altogether. Morning newspaper walk. Early in the morning, someone would go out to fetch the fresh papers, usually Dad or the elder children. The newsagents was only open for a few hours, and a stroll through the chilly streets became part of the Sunday ritual. The newspapers were thick and multi-sectioned, and you needed 2 hands to carry them. They were brought home and distributed. Dad got the news and sport, Mom got the magazines and supplements. The papers were read cover to cover. Today, this tradition has practically disappeared, replaced by digital news on smartphones. Attending church. Even not particularly religious families would send their children to Sunday school. They'd put on their best clothes and walk to church with other families. The church would be packed. The children were at Sunday school, the adults listened to the service. Afterwards, everyone would congregate outside. The adults chatted, the children ran and played. This was how social contacts were maintained. Today, church attendance has fallen sharply, and weekly communal meetings have all but gone. The shops were closed. Most shops were closed on Sundays, save for the newsagents and pubs, which would open briefly at lunchtime. If you'd forgotten something on Saturday, you simply had to wait till Monday. City centers looked deserted. The streets were quiet. Snow or frost only enhanced the atmosphere of silence and relaxation. Modern Sundays mean open shopping centers and entertainment, and that special restful break for the family has practically disappeared. Watching TV together. In the evening, the whole family gathered around one television set. Back then, there were only 3 channels: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. Programs were watched communally: sports highlights, serials, and comedy shows. If you missed a program, there was no repeat. Modern families have dozens of channels and streaming services, so the ritual of watching together has almost vanished. Fireplace warmth in the sitting room. In winter, Sunday was synonymous with the warmth of the fireplace. Dad would light the fire in the morning, and by lunchtime the sitting room would be snug, while the rest of the house remained cool. Children would gather around the fire, toasting crumpets on special long forks. Central heating in modern homes has made this cozy ritual a rarity. Children's outdoor games after lunch. After lunch, children were usually packed off outside. A game of football in the garden or street, British bulldog, running around until dusk. Frost or cold didn't deter them. Parents simply wanted a little peace and quiet after the main meal. Today, children are rarely allowed to wander unsupervised, and such freedom has virtually disappeared. Second meal, Sunday tea. After the 1 p.m. lunch, the Sunday wasn't over yet. At 5 p.m., the family would gather again at the table for the traditional Sunday tea. On the table stood a large teapot, covered with a knitted tea cozy that kept the water warm, and nearby were earthenware or porcelain teacups with the fragrant drink. Sandwiches made from the dinner leftovers, tender ham or roast meat on a thick slice of white bread with butter occupied a separate plate, and alongside lay homemade baking. anything from a delicate sponge cake to a fruit pie, which was kept on the table under a cloth to preserve the aroma. The family sat together, catching up on the week's news, laughing at funny stories. The children listened to the adults' conversations, trying not to spill the tea or eat too many of the goodies. This ritual was a moment of shared relaxation and the closing of the day. Today, this rarely happens. Families seldom gather at the table twice a day, and the feeling of togetherness and home comfort is often lost. Evening radio. When the sun sank below the horizon and the rooms became quiet and cozy, the whole family would gather around the radio. At this time, serials, comedies, and music programs were broadcast, demanding the listeners' full attention. The children sat on the carpet or on chairs, trying to imagine all the scenes and characters, while the adults occasionally smiled, reacting to jokes or plot twists. There was silence in the room, interrupted only by the voices of the presenters and the soft rustle of newspapers placed nearby. Modern podcasts are mostly listened to alone through headphones, and such a collective ritual, where the whole family shares a memory, concentrates on voices, and imagines the world, has practically disappeared. The Sunday bath. The weekly bath was not just a way to wash, but a real ritual of preparation for the new week. The water was heated in limited supply, so all family members used it in turn. First the youngest, then the oldest, and finally the last would receive the slightly cooler, already changed water. The steam from the hot bath filled the bathroom, and favorite toys or soap on the shelf made the process fun. Children were quick in the bath, trying not to waste time, and adults carefully monitored that everything went smoothly. Modern families shower daily, and such a joint ritual has disappeared, along with the sense of preparation for the new week and interaction between family members. If these memories have resonated with you, and you fancy a good chat about the good old days, please do leave a comment below. Which of these Sunday traditions do you miss the most? Don't forget to give us a like and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next piece of British nostalgia.